Hello and welcome to the Green Profit Academy Pros podcast. This show digs into the challenges in growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit. I'm Christine Era.
And I'm Steve Bousquet. We are the green industry experts in profit, growth, and leadership.
Hello, Christine. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm good. It's a Monday. I love Mondays. They provide me with opportunities to meet new challenges.
Yeah, I feel like we come back in the office on a Monday and we can be optimistic or we can be a little sluggish. So it does help us understand a little bit better, like what groove do we want to find for the week? How do we want this week to come out the gate? And it doesn't always come out the gate the way we want to, but you know what? That's what Tuesdays are for.
Right on. Yeah, Mondays are a learning opportunity for sure. Today's podcast is about equipment and about equipment spend, return on investment. And, one of the biggest things about landscapers is we love equipment, all kinds of nice, neat, complicated, powerful, loud equipment. And knowing the life of our equipment and when to repair it or when to replace it is vitally important to the success of our company. And today we're going to be discussing three factors that are very important in determining the management and funding of our equipment. And, we can buy equipment, but we need to know, how we're going to pay for it, what's the return on investment, and when it's time to replace the old equipment and stop pouring money into the repairs of that.
Right. Yeah. And equipment for companies, whether you're in startup or you've been around for, let's say 20 plus years, it can be a really slippery slope for these companies to manage, to understand what do they need, what do they not need, when to repair it or replace it. So if you don't know what you're getting yourself into, you could end up in a heap of trouble fast and not knowing where your profit is bleeding in your company. And typically when I've done a detailed assessment, a profit first assessment or a profit first scalable growth business model assessment, I have found that labor is a big bleed, but equipment can be, kind of the silent second killer of profit in a business. So you need to know really what to purchase, what to lease versus purchase. When do you need it? So have a plan in place. And most of all, and most important, is how to price it, because you could have your equipment dialed in around your needs of your business and how it's going to service your customers. But one of the biggest things we see is these companies are not pricing their equipment properly. So they're not getting a return on investment.
Yeah. So, how do we even know how much to price our equipment out for and how much it's costing us without really doing a detailed analysis? And one of the things from you and I doing research for the Profit First for Lawn Care and Landscape business book, and also doing assessments for lawn care and landscape businesses, is that equipment costs typically run between 8 to 15% of their total revenue. And if they're doing snow, during the winter, it could be an additional 3 to 5%. So anywhere between 11 up to 20% of equipment, and that includes your payments, down payments, and repairs. It could be that much of a percentage of your total revenue. So just being aware of that and coming up with a plan on how to pay for it and recover that through work is vitally important to the success of the business.
Yeah. And I like the fact that we're talking about snow as well, because there's some companies that are very successful in snow, and they'll say that is my profit center. Then there's other companies where they were running snow for years and it was just pulling all of the profit, like their landscaping or their lawn care was paying for them to provide snow removal. And you and I have even had, continuous conversations around, should you guys provide snow removal? And let's run the numbers and we'll kind of do an analysis and, kind of quick out the gate. But yeah, being aware is snow really a profit center for you and the equipment costs? And then if you are, let's say, using your trucks that you use for landscape or lawn care and you're repurposing them, it's going to have a higher wear and tear on your other vehicles, just getting them set up and using them in that harsh environment.
Oh, absolutely. So, if you take a truck and you're going to use it on the green side and then plow, you're going to cut that life of the truck probably in half. So, making sure that you are recuperating that cost of losing that truck in half the time, you're going to have to make sure that you charge enough for your snow plowing. Snow plowing is way more expensive than most people realize. And a lot of times people don't want to look, behind the hood, open the hood up and see the true cost of plowing because, the cash flow is helping them carry them through the winter. But once you start implementing Profit First and you have your cash allocated properly, it levels out that way you don't have to do, certain things just to provide cash flow that are actually losing you money.
Yeah, and that's really what inspired me to come up with the different business models because there's the two different blueprints, which is the one trick pony and the three ring circus, and I was looking at it and I go, but you know what? I think there's more strategically to this because we can throw so many different business models into these blueprints, but what are they really, and what do they need to support themselves? With their revenue and their annual cash flow, if they do have a down season. So if they don't want to produce snow revenue, how can we support them and what tools can we give them so they can survive through the winter? And that's why we came up with the different business models. And there's 4 different business models. If you haven't read the book, go check it out. The 4 different business models supports the different business models in the landscape and lawn care industry, and as well as snow removal. And there are tools in there and percentages that you can utilize to make sure that you're financially healthy year round, no matter what business model or structure you have in your business.
Yeah, and being aware of your business model is crucially important. And then, it's wonderful that there's a chart and there's a tool that will show you your percentages, the scalable growth business model. Where should you be at with your overhead? Where should you be at with sales, admin, material, equipment? Everything's in that. So definitely, if you don't have the book, Profit First for Lawn Care and Landscape Businesses, that chapter alone is worth the entire book plus 10x. Because then you'll know instead of guessing and wondering. Because, if you're making these decisions and you get it dialed in today, that's going to serve you for the rest of your career, as long as you're running your business. So knowing that now is going to benefit you for decades, possibly. So implementing Profit First, we talk about OPEX, which is the operating account, and then a little bit of advanced is having the equipment account, which I like because it really shows my team how much we can spend for the entirety of the season and for the next 3 seasons based on our projection of growth. So my team stops asking me for equipment that we need or don't, they think we need. Everybody gets to kind of be in on the buying decision based on what we get to spend as a percentage of revenue, which empowers my team, takes pressure off of me for making all the decisions, and the money is so clear because it's already defined in the budget.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have your equipment account set up utilizing the Profit First method, then, and this is an advanced method, so I highly advise that you get the basic accounts set up first. You can't jump all in and expect it to come off without any problems. There are going to be challenges as you implement more advanced methods in your business. So if you have the equipment account implemented, you're going to look at how much annually you're going to be funding into that account to support your equipment costs. And could be payments on your equipment. It could be the cost for leasing your equipment because you might have discovered already that it's better to lease versus buy because you're not using it that much, or renting. So repairs and also maintenance on this. So, how much is it going to cost you to manage that piece of equipment, whether it's a lawn application truck or, a skid steer that's out in the field doing landscaping. So it's going to help you get that insight that you need as you continue to grow and develop your business model and understand what equipment do we need and how does it produce revenue for us.
Yeah, and getting return on investment on equipment, not just labor. We get return on investment from our labor. We mark up the labor. We're going to mark up the material, and we want to also mark up our equipment because there's a risk in buying it, and it's also an investment that comes right off of our net income. We're paying for our equipment from our net income, so it goes over to the balance sheet side, and that it comes out of that off the balance sheet to buy this asset. So we want return on investment from assets, just like putting money in the stock market, putting money in a bank, a CD, money market. We want a return on our investment. We don't want it just to break even. So once we can determine how to make money off of our equipment, then it's not just costing us, it's also a profit center.
Right. Yeah, and it could be a drain on your profit because you're not covering the cost of it, and in addition to making some profit on it, or it could be, as we said, a profit center to where it's going to generate an abundance of profit for you. So, but in order for it to do that, you need to know how much does your equipment cost, and you need to be able to forecast your equipment needs. So what's coming? So what needs to be repaired? What needs to be replaced? What does this look like? And be able to, maintenance your equipment as you use it. And we've seen companies that have just a fantastic system in place for maintaining their equipment and making sure that it's not being taken out of rotation, and losing revenue when it's being maintained. And that has prolonged the life of their equipment, so they're not going to have to drop as much money as often.
Yeah, paying attention to when things get maintained and repaired, so it's not when in the season that you're using it is vitally important. One of the things that I like to talk about is, and a lot of people typically don't look at their equipment like this, is if you're operating at a 10% net income, if you buy a piece of equipment that costs $100,000, like a new F600 with a snowplow, at a 10% net, you need to do $1 million in revenue with that truck to pay for it. $1 million. So, at a 20%, you need to do $500,000 with that truck to pay for that truck because it's coming out of your net income. So when you start looking at equipment, a $15,000 lawnmower at a 10%, you have to 10x that. So it's a lot of mowing to pay for that. So, you have to do $150,000 in mowing to pay for a $15,000 lawnmower, just to be aware of that, 10%. So it's very interesting to have a different perspective of that. But what's nice about Profit First is you can go to your cost and figure out exactly what you need to be putting, in your Profit First account to cover your equipment. So for repairing and replacing your equipment, so what are some of the main concepts to know? What do I replace it? Do I repair it? How much is the repair going to cost? How much is the new piece going to cost? And one of the things I brought up earlier was downtime. Downtime in the green industry just kills us because we can't get those hours back. So share your input on that.
Yeah, and it's definitely important, when to repair or replace your equipment and how to approach it. One of the things I want to kind of cover before we move on to that idea is, we all want to make sure we pay the right price for a piece of equipment. So that's one thing. Like, you don't want to cut corners to where you're paying for something to where you're going to have to spend too much money repairing it or, maintaining it over time. And you also want to be mindful of, can you afford something brand new? And is that the way to go? So you want to not only look at what am I going to pay for this piece of equipment to generate, and look at the positive cash flow that it can generate in the next year or two. In chapter 11 of the book, I talk about, the three things we want to focus on when it comes to your equipment. and you want to know how to calculate your return on investment. Like, what does that look like from your equipment? How to determine whether you should repair and whether you should replace it. And these are the three factors that we said we would share today that are very important in determining how to fund your equipment account, should you choose to have one. So, now that you know those three factors, you're looking at calculating a return on investment and determining whether you should repair it or replace it. So are we going to continue to dump money into this machine, or are we going to just get rid of it, which and then get something new? And one of the terms that some of you all may have heard is sunk cost. And sunk cost is an accounting term where we basically say, like, you're spending money and you're spending money and you're spending money, and guess what? You're never going to get a return on investment on that money that you're spending. So it's not going to come back to you. So you have to make that hard decision. And if you run the numbers, those are facts. So it really shouldn't be that hard. How much money are you going to spend that you're never going to get back on this equipment?
And what sunk cost looks like in landscaping is you have a lawnmower and it blows an engine. So you throw a new engine on it. So then the spindle housings are all shot. So you place all the spindle housings, new spindles and everything. So now you have an engine in it, all new spindle housing, but then the transmission goes, or the wheel and motor, the pumps and wheel motors go. So it's just like, and when you're done between the downtime plus the installation of all that, you're at a $4,000 repair bill, and you could have got a new, walk behind for $6,500, plus the downtime that you have. And now you have a new transmission, new spindles, and a new engine on a machine that has 3,000 hours on it. And the old stuff, the parts don't fit into the new parts. They wear out quicker, and it doesn't run as nice and cut as nice as a brand new machine. So there's also efficiency, labor efficiency to also consider when you're looking at this equipment. We have an older skid steer, and when you get in that, it's loose. It's not as tight as the new loader, and so it's not as quick, it's not as accurate, but it's worth keeping for the role that we have for it. And another sunk cost is, the trucks. It blows a transmission, then it needs a head gasket, and then the rear seal goes, and, the body is rotted off. And if you're trading the truck in when it's 6 or 7 years old, you can still get about 50% value of that truck towards a new truck, as opposed to keeping it for 12, 15 years and putting all these repairs into it.
Right. Yeah. So to answer, the question, how do you know whether to repair or replace it? And I'm gonna make this simple. And just so you know, it sounds simple to get to the final answer on all of these. It is not that easy. It's a little bit harder. So, you basically need to compare the current value of your asset, so whatever asset you have, with the cost of repair. And when the cost of repair is less than the value of the equipment, you should repair it. When the cost of repair is higher than the value of the asset, you should replace it.
So we've had a couple of pieces of equipment that it's close. The value, what we could, sell it for and repairing, it's close. But we look at it and we know the new ones are much more efficient. They have better technology. They have different operational features that actually will increase efficiency. So, at that point, we look at can I gain, an extra, 2 lawns a day by having this new sprayer spreader? And if we can justify that mathematically, then we'll go ahead and buy that. So you definitely want to look at the value of the equipment versus the repair. But also, some machines are easy to repair, and they last. Like some of our spreader sprayers, our Z sprays, you can throw a new engine on that, and it's all stainless steel. You'll get another, 3 to 4 years out of it, maybe 5 years. So that's definitely worth it. But some things like some of the snowplow things, they're so beat up that new is better. Controllers and some other things, new is way better. So you're also some experience with that definitely matters also.
Yeah, and I know over the last couple of years, I feel like this was happening while I was finalizing the book, was we were having just these huge increases, and fuel was a big one. It was, where they're like, oh my gosh, like fuel went from three something a gallon to six something a gallon, and in some areas seven, a gallon. And so fuel was a huge cost increase, but equipment was another one to where suddenly, their equipment was expiring and they're going, well, wait, I'm going to have to pay like almost 20% or over 20% above what I paid for this last one. And it was equipment just took this huge, hike increase in the cost. So what they were looking at getting rid of their old piece of equipment and getting a new one, they're looking at a minimal of paying like 20% more for this new piece of equipment. The upside of this, though, has been that old equipment, we're paying 20% more for the old equipment too, which just, thinking about it logically, you're going, this is insane. Why would I pay that much for a used vehicle? And then you go over to the new lot and you go, well, that's way more than I was expecting to pay. The nice thing is it's going to help you understand how that older piece of equipment and its value can contribute to the new one.
Absolutely. Yeah. Getting to know the numbers, but being strategic about it up front. We know it's interesting on our Z sprays. Typically, we'll get about 1,600 hours out of the engines that we have on them. So we can have an engine on hand. We have a kit to change it, and we know we're going to get another, 12 to 1,600 hours on the next one. Now, the front caster locking wheels are going to have to be replaced, but it's still a third of the price of buying a new one. So that number makes sense. And it's interesting. Some of the older Z sprays are actually more efficient because they're faster. We can get them dialed in and they're a little bit broken in. So my lawn techs are actually quicker on the older ones. So, you really have to look at what the operations and costs really are.
Yeah. And that's a good point is, using what you have until you can't use it anymore, but making sure that the return on investment is there. So if you're going to sell it and it's going to contribute to what you're going to need to replace it. So that's important. And one of the questions that I've been asked over the years is, well, how do I determine the value of our asset? Like I can look online and look at like a Blue Book value, or I could, what do I do? And I know that there are, you depreciate your assets, right? So this is something that your accountant does every year, your CPA, when you file your taxes, is it says, hey, these are all your assets. And then this is how you depreciate, this is what we depreciated. One of the challenges around that is if you take the depreciation value, how much have you depreciated? What was your allowance that was depreciated of that asset? So it may not be an accurate value based off of your tax depreciation schedule. So what we really want to look at is just a simple straight line. It's called a straight line depreciation method, to where we determine, and we have a tool for this in the Green Profit Toolbox. So, and it's very easy. You enter in the amount and it just calculates it for you automatically, saying, okay, at this many years, let's say 8 years, this is going to be the value based off of a straight line depreciation. So that way you can see, okay, I bought this truck for $80,000 and now it's 6 years. This is the value it's going to be in 6 years. So, and then you can consider your historical maintenance if you have it. That's something else that you can consider.
And buying trucks is so much fun. Buying new trucks is so much fun. And if you can trade in a truck that's 6 or 7 years old, you're going to get a lot more value on that 6 or 7 year old trade in than a 12 or 13-year-old trade-in, which is basically worthless. So trading the trucks in a little quicker. We've kind of gone to that model, not on all the trucks, because some of our trucks will actually last. Our lawn tech trucks, they don't go on the road in the winter at all. They're going to be 12, 15 years old, only getting 7,000 to 10,000 miles a year. But any truck that plows or pulls or hauls and tows and plows, that truck at 6, 7 years, that's the time to get rid of it. We get a really good trade in, and we can put it toward the purchase of the new truck and just keep rotating that. It's easier to know how much the payments are than these like $4,000 or $5,000 repairs every time it goes to the dealer.
Yeah, and the whole point of that straight line depreciation method, right? It may sound super technical. What it is every year you're taking the same value off of that piece of equipment or that truck equally every year. So you're basically saying, year one, this much is going to be minus. Year two, this much is going to be minus. So it's kind of like this map of how the value is going to decrease on this piece of equipment over its life. So its useful life. And this is one of the things that may be very complicated for business owners to understand, because we don't all love numbers, and we're not as passionate about numbers or even, rules and methods when it comes to numbers. But all this is saying is year one, it's going to be, this is what you paid for it. By the end of year one, this is going to be the value. By the end of year two, this is going to be the value. So it's very easy to get there and see what is the useful life of this piece of equipment or this vehicle that you have, because you don't want to keep it past its useful life. You want to keep it to the point where you can turn it over and get something, and it's going to contribute to the next piece of equipment or vehicle that you have. And you made this decision based off of facts, not emotions of just throwing money at it to fix the problem in the moment because it's stressful or you've had it for so long.
So if we buy a Z-Spray, we'll buy a lawnmower, a zero-turn mower for $15,000. We're going to do straight line depreciation for 5 years. So we're going to do $3,000 a year for 5 years, and that will be fully depreciated at the end of 5 years. So if we mow 450 hours a year times 5, that tractor is going to have about 2,250 hours on it. So, at the end of 5 years, we run it for 2,250 hours. We fully depreciated it. Now it's time to sell that tractor, trade it in, sell it, and get a new tractor. And that's the strategy behind that. Looking at, well, how long is this tractor going to last us? But let's say it's only mowing 250 hours a year. So, if the life of that tractor is 2,250 hours, 250. That means that's a 9-year tractor. So it really depends. Now, my question would be, why is it only mowing 250 hours a year? That's really low. And so one of the things that we notice when I coach people is they have mowing crews doing other stuff. So that lawnmower sitting on that trailer while they're, weeding beds, trimming shrubs, edging. And so they have that asset sitting on that trailer, not generating any revenue at all, because it's the other guys they're doing other stuff while the mower sits there. The asset sits there, not gaining any return on investment. So that would be a question. But that's basically it. Once that tractor gets 2,250 hours, then you have to really look at what's the repair. And I have been tricked by equipment before where it's like, oh, it hasn't broke at all. I got 2,250 hours on it. I'm going to run this thing for 1,000 hours more. And all I did the next 1,000 hours was basically spend more money, sunk cost, than it was worth. At that point, it's worth, $4,000, and I spend $8,000 fixing it. So that's
right.
An upside down investment.
Core Growth Strategies provides business growth management solutions through cloud accounting, bookkeeping, and strategic business consulting programs. Our team works with small businesses in lawn care and landscape and trade industries throughout the U.S. We increase our clients' business acumen by creating business performance transparency through financials and strategic advisement based on industry best practices and benchmarks. Our experienced team provides support, guidance, and coaching, thereby allowing our clients to connect with viable data and discover their own solutions. Core Growth Strategies programs and services are designed to get your business from where it is now to where you have always dreamed it to be. Visit us today at coregrowthstrategies.com and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Don't miss our exclusive limited time podcast special. Just mention promo code GPA Pro to any member of our team during your complimentary consultation, or enter the promo code on our site when you sign up for one of our online programs. That's promo code GPA Pro. Yeah, so if you're looking at this asset and you say, we've had it for 3 years and it's just broken, or you say, it got to that many hours and it's just broken, the question is going to be, should we repair or replace it? So how much is it going to cost to repair that? And is it equal or, close to the value that's left in that asset? So that's really what we're looking at, is if, let's say it's $2,000 to repair, and the value on it that's left is only $3,000, would you repair it? No. No, you would not.
Yeah, there's just no way. No, you would just not. You just couldn't do it. No, there's no way. Especially, right, certain types of equipment, right? You can't do it. So, and I was sharing with Christine before the show started, Z-sprays used to be about $11,000. Now they're $22,000. So you can replace an engine on it for, with labor and everything for about $2,400. So, $2,400 versus $24,000, that's an easy decision. If it's, the machine's $3,000 and it costs you $2,000, that's don't do it. You're not saving money. And I hear a lot of people don't want payments. I'm going to do this because I don't want a payment. And one of the things is, it's because I don't want debt. But if you buy a lawnmower with a payment, it's leveraged debt. It's not like buying a television, because you have an asset that offsets the debt. So if you sold the mower, technically you could pay off the debt. If you sold the skid steer, technically you could pay off the debt. So it's not technically debt, it's leveraged. And if you have enough work for it, it's making all the payments, versus a television or a new refrigerator or, a personal car, our personal car is not paying for itself. Where not only should this equipment that we're buying pay for itself, it should actually give us a return on our investment. We should be getting margin on this equipment.
Right. Yeah, and there are a lot of softwares out there that you can house your equipment and your assets in their software. There are some of the ones that I know that are supporting the equipment side is, I believe it's called Hippo, and it manages like your fleet, your assets, your repairs, your maintenance, things like that. That is a great tool to use, and it kind of does it all for you. Some companies go, I don't want another software platform. We have enough. I totally understand that. And they want to stay old school. So I would say, use an Excel workbook, list the equipment in there. In the tool that I built out in our membership toolbox, that one actually includes different worksheets that you could list your different equipment, your field equipment, your vehicles, your field vehicles, and then your administrative vehicles in, so you can see the life of that piece of equipment. And you can also plan for the time that it's going to have to come up to repair or replace it. So it's all in one workbook, and you can put all that information in there, including your maintenance, from tires to, regular maintenance, and even list your repairs in there. And it will, pull that information together and tell you, this is how much you're spending on equipment. This is how much you're spending on repairs. This is what you even need to save over the next year to be ready to replace that piece of equipment. So it can give you years out of a schedule of, 10, 15 years of what this looks like. So it's really based off of the life of the equipment and to prepare for the replacement of it and manage the maintenance and make these decisions, which is in the beginning of the podcast, that gap that we identified to where we say, here's your equipment percentage you should spend in a healthy company, this percent. This is how you calculate your, return on investment. And we brought up the repair or replace, and they go, well, how do we track all this stuff? Which is why I created that tool, because it was such a huge challenge for them to track it, because they weren't down for adopting another software, but they're absolutely down for using a workbook that their internal accountant or external accountant could utilize to help give them these projections and get it dialed in their company.
It's a lot. I love numbers and I love reports, but it is a lot. So you have to have someone who's on your team to help you with this, whether it's your bookkeeper, your accountant, a consultant, a coach. You definitely need somebody who's on your team that can help you with this. To try to figure out on your own it's a lot. And a lot of people will try to, and they'll get frustrated trying to do it on their own. So you can expedite the whole experience by just getting some help and not having to figure this out all on your own. But the conversation is vitally important. And once you come up with a system, then you'll know, okay, we come up with a program and a system, how much you can spend every year, when things are getting paid off, what the budget for next year is. It's very awesome. We ran our equipment budget out for the rest of this year, and we have about $5,000 left to spend on new equipment for the year. And that's it, because everything else has been allocated. And so it lets my team know that that's what our budget is based on our total percent spent. So, which might seem like it's not enough, but when we've been keeping up with our spend, so we have newer trucks and we have everything we need. That's why there's only $5,000 for the year left, which is about $400 a month. So for new equipment, because we budgeted it, it's been allocated already.
Yeah, and you might find that what's left over, that $5,000, you may not even use, or maybe let's say you use $1,000 of it. Then you have $4,000 to roll over into the next year, and you have that cushion. And that's kind of the nice thing in implementing these advanced methods of profit first, and even some of the basic methods, is it helps you create those cushions with the ebbs and flow of a business, because there's going to be a year where maybe you don't spend that extra $4,000 or $5,000 on something, but in the next year you do. So it helps you navigate those ebbs and flows with the business, because business is always fluid, so it's forever changing.
All right. So what's next?
So I think it might be helpful to talk to our viewers about, what are some of the simple mistakes that people make around their equipment, and how can they change those?
All right. Mistakes.
Yep.
Overspending on repairs.
Yep.
Keeping equipment too long.
Yep. So those are some of the biggest ones, which we've covered. How to know when not to overspend. So if it's the value of the asset, whatever the value is, if the repair is over that amount, do not repair it, replace it. Looking at your equipment, what do you need in your business? What's really going to serve your ideal customer and going to contribute to your profit centers? And this is something that, Steve, I know you guys looked at in your company and eliminated, we talked about this earlier, like $1 million in equipment spend. So I think sharing that story could give our listeners some insight on how do you know if you need that piece of equipment, and what are some ways that they can approach considering that?
Yeah, so we were a three-ring circus. We're still a small bit of a three-ring circus, but before we used to do everything like parking lot sweeping, litter cleanup, asphalt sealing, striping, We would maintain artificial turf. We had a full flower change out crew, and that needed special trucks and trailers. We had larger, excavators and equipment, and we just were never using that enough. And same thing with some of this other equipment with the parking lot stuff. It just was only being used a few hours a day. We weren't generating enough revenue to do that, and it distracted our capital from growing our main business, which is lawn applications. So getting rid of trucks that we were keeping. We used to do a lot more snow plowing. So we had trucks that we kept just for snow plowing. So which can add up really fast when you take a truck and a plow, extra skid steers, salters. So once we really kind of defined, kind of through pumpkin planting, but just the pain of being huge lawn mowing, snow plowing, lawn application, parking lot maintenance, flower planting, we just were, if you would pay us, we would do it. And that was just crushing our capital and our investments. And now we're much more focused, even on our landscaping. We really have defined in our installs, really narrowed what we do and the project sizes and what we do, and then focusing on the lawn applications. So I think, at one point I had like 13 different ways to plant grass seed. We had every attachment. We still have some left. We have probably 4 or 5 pieces left. We had every way you could ever want to, put grass into the soil.
Right.
So yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah, and one of the things that I want to talk on a little bit is the pumpkin plan side of it with the equipment that Steve you're sharing is that you looked at who your ideal customers were. How much money is being generated by these other services in your business, and what are the costs associated with them? And this is where I feel that equipment can be this very confusing, almost, smoke and mirrors situation to where it seems like it's making money, but the truth is it really isn't. So one of the things that come up regularly, and I hear you unpack this when you do your one-on-one coaching calls with some of these clients, and we're looking at, let's unpack your equipment. Let's unpack your labor. Let's look at these. What's contributing to your profit margin in your business? And one of the things that we find is they have this equipment and they're saying, yes, it contributes to this revenue. Well, let's look at how much it's contributing to that revenue. And that's going to help us decide what we're going to do with it. Are we going to keep this equipment? Are we going to continue to provide these services to our customers? Is this a profit center? And one of the things that we find 2 things that I want to share. One, we find what we call utilization rate. And utilization rate is you have a whole year. How much are you utilizing that piece of equipment to deliver the services that you're being paid for?
Yeah, and I just, as you were talking, I remembered we had a tree and shrub truck, spraying trees and everything. And that truck, you have to have bigger pumps and hoses and reels and everything. That truck was this was 20 years ago, $80,000. So we would have had to do $800,000 at 10% or $400,000 at 20%, and that truck was only doing $140,000 a year. So I mean, it was in revenue. So we still had to pay, the material and the guy and everything, and especially arborists. And when we stopped doing that, it was hard to route because not everybody bought tree care, and it was an expensive. We had to pay an arborist, had to have the special everything. So there was the 2 happiest days with that truck were when I bought it and when I sold it.
It's like a boat.
It's like a boat. It was like, and it was, you have to go out and look at the tree and then sell it and then send the truck to go do it. And everything's an emergency because something's eating something. And it was hard to, we did schedule route some stuff like dormant oils and deep root feeding and woolly delegate and stuff like that. But, there was other things. New customers had emergencies all the time. So Yeah, it's expensive to have all this equipment that's not being utilized. And that's what's nice about, the Z sprays. They're being used, from March all the way until December. And our landscape crew, they have the right size equipment that they can almost use on any job. Uh,
Right.
so if we do need a big excavator, we rent it for that job, and then it goes back to where it came from, as opposed to having big equipment that you don't need. Even like leaf equipment. I mean, we would run 3 or 4 dump trucks with this huge 65 horse truck loader, and it was a lot of dump trucks hauling leaves, and I know I wasn't charging enough. So people don't want to pay for leaf cleanup, and we weren't charging enough. So
Yeah, and the next level to utilization rate. So you're looking at, is it utilized 50% of the year? Is it utilized 80% of the year? And does that utilization rate, are we charging enough to cover the cost and create a return on investment? So that's the next step to it, to where you want to look at not only how much are you utilizing it, but is that percentage of utilization contributing to the revenue that that piece of equipment is going to generate in addition to an ROI. So you want to make sure it covers its costs, it covers its maintenance and repairs, and then it's also going to create a profit. So you may be looking at an 80%, maybe it's used 8 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year, but whatever you're looking at, you want to make sure that it's generating 12 months of revenue and ROI, even if it's out of that 8 months. So there's that gap there. And that's typically where we will find when they're not pricing the equipment right, they're not looking at the utilization rate. And then when you add those two together, they're not thinking with the fact that even though you use it out of 9 months, its utilization needs to cover the 12-month cost plus profit. So that's where it can be a slippery slope and you could lose money on your equipment.
Oh, absolutely. So 20-ish years ago, I bought a truck loader, $10,000. We're going to use it for 6 weeks a year. So, I mean, that's literally it in the fall. So $10,000, right? The payment was for 5 years. So it's $2,000 a year. So we're going to have to charge for 6 weeks, $2,000, $333 a week is what we would have to charge just to make the payments. Now, but we want to make margin on that, so we're going to make 50% gross margin. So we want to double that. So $660 a week divided by 5 days, that's $133 a day. So we would have to recoup that from our customers. So how we ended up doing it later on was we figured out, how much does it can fill a truck in about 15 to 18 minutes. That's how fast this thing is. So, we figured out we have to charge about $3 and $3.50 a minute to pay for this thing because it's that fast. Not everybody has a whole truckload, but that's how when that thing ran, that's what we had to charge for it.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically, 60 minutes times 350, it was $210 an hour. It could fill in an hour. It could fill 3 dump trucks. I mean, the thing is a beast. But knowing that, you're making money off that truck loader. Not only is it sitting most of the year, but you're making money off of it when it runs. You're making a 50% gross profit margin.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a good point, is making sure you know what you're charging based off of your utilization rate annually. So for 12 months out of the year, even if you're not using it for 3 to 4 of those months. So make sure that when it is in the field producing, it is pulling its weight and giving you not just what you have to pay for it to be there on, in your yard for the entire year, but, during that downtime. So So I just kind of want to summarize for today what we covered. So we covered the 3 factors that are very important in determining the management and funding of your equipment account. If that's, what you have set up or you plan on setting one up. So one of them was how to calculate your return on investment. So you need to know, what is your return on investment on your equipment and the assets that you have, and also know whether you should repair or replace it, because repair is going to come into play with funding your equipment account, as well as you can plan for replacement of your equipment when it runs out of its use of life. And you'll get a bigger bang for your buck when you're actually tracking these things in your business, and you won't be having sunk costs, just throwing money at this equipment, repairing it, or continuing to maintenance it when you should really be turning it in for a new piece of equipment. So you'll get a higher trade-in or sell value for it. And you also need to know, what is the value of your assets? So identifying your use of life on your equipment and what you can sell it for. So you have that line in the sand that you're drawing and saying, okay, it's year 6. This is how much we've spent. This is the value of this equipment. We're willing or unwilling to repair this because of the value that's left. So that gives you that immediate yes or no. So it's almost in a way building a decision tree in your business and taking the emotion out of it. And you wouldn't even have to decide. One of your managers or your maintenance crew can decide, yeah, it's not worth, repairing this because of X. And then they can let you guys know when it's time for something to be purchased.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be the utilization rate. So really knowing, within 12 months, how much are you utilizing this piece of equipment in your business? And then making sure that whatever you're charging for it, you're making a profit on it, you're getting your return on investment on the vehicle or the piece of equipment, and it's paying for itself.
Paying for itself, absolutely, in giving gross profit margin. So using our equipment as a profit center is really the most powerful. It was interesting. I worked with a client earlier this year, probably in February. We were going over pricing and getting a 50% gross profit margin on his equipment. He thought it was going to be like this huge price increase, and it was not as much as he thought. It was about charging the difference between charging $70 a lot application and charging $77 a lot application. And that $7, 10%, gave him a 50% gross profit margin on his equipment. And so his challenge was he couldn't get enough lawn techs to do all the lawns they were doing. So he, was like, well, if I'm going to raise, my prices and lose a few customers, at least the customers I have, which was quite a large number of customers, he's going to be making a 50% gross profit margin. And what's interesting is his retention stayed the same, and he grew the same percentages as he typically did with the increase. So they do a quality job. It's a great company, and that's what people were buying. They weren't just buying, fertilizer.
Right. Yeah. So even though we have to track the money internally and make sure it's all set up properly and your pricing right, it's not going to have as big as an impact as one would think externally when it comes to your customers.
No, not at all. And then he can keep maintaining his equipment. They love his trucks. They love the look of it. And he can afford to not only maintain it, but to get return off that investment, because it is an investment.
All right. So for our listeners today, please look at the show notes. If you're looking for the book, we're going to be putting some links in the show notes today to where you can purchase the book with some special bonuses, or you can purchase the audiobook with some special bonuses as well. So, and definitely dig into chapter 11 of the book, where we talk about, the return on investment, and chapter 8, which focuses on the scalable growth business models and blueprints that we talked about today.
Absolutely. So if you don't have the Profit First for Lawn Care and Landscape businesses in your library already, I totally recommend getting it. There's The book is full of information. There's some good success stories in there, comeback stories, lots of good information as far as calculating your numbers. So I highly advocate that you buy that book. Okay, Christine. Well, I think this was a pretty good show. Thanks again. And we will see, or you will hear from us soon. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Green Profit Academy Pros Podcast,
The show that digs into the challenges of growing a lawn care and landscape business while maximizing your profit.